Tonight's featured speaker, Ms. Nariba Gittings, Brother Glendon Bell, President, Board of Directors of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, Sister Clorinda Allen, Group CEO, Reverend Lennox Wiggins of the Western Light Church of the Nazarene, members of the board, staff, and members of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to you once again, and welcome to the 14th Annual Olive Trotman Memorial Lecture. My name is Jewel Ford, and it's an honor to be the moderator for this lecture once again. The Olive Trotman Memorial Lecture is one of the flagship events for the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited and has become an integral part of their anniversary and anniversary celebrations. This year marks 46 years of operation for this credit union. And for this, I'd like to invite you to join me in congratulating the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union on this major milestone. Each year, I look forward to being the moderator for this event, simply because the speakers are always interesting, they bring a wealth of information, and the lectures are always informative. I would like to invite the President of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union, Brother Glendon A. Bell, to officially welcome you. Brother Glendon?
By my living, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Our credit union joins with Barbadians across the world as we prepare for one of our country's hugest milestones since 1966. On behalf of the Board of Directors and members of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, I would like to consider this lecture as playing a small role in the lead-up to our island's semi-centenary celebrations. On arriving this evening, I noticed that the broken pledge was on display, and of course, the pledge book which accompanies it. My understanding is that this book is for us Barbadians to record our names and to document a pledge as a show of commitment in order to create a positive change. So what does a pledge mean to you? By definition, a pledge is a solemn promise or undertaking or vow. Some of us who are married will know that. A pledge has been also described as surety, a bond, security, or guarantee. The word pledge is not only a noun, it is an action. To pledge is to make a commitment by a solemn promise. The symbolism and gravity of a pledge indicates that those words that we write should be measured and carefully considered. While I suspect the pledge book is not meant to intimidate persons from participating, I hope the concept challenges all of us to consider our national pledge and how we can refuel our energies and individual contributions for the greater good. The Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union takes its pledge and responsibility seriously. Our challenge is to balance compliance with community and evolving challenges with empathic service. Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited has been empowering members for generations since 1970. Through the support of our members, Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union pledged to continue to help shape the economic, social, and physical landscape of Barbados by providing access to financial resources and educational opportunities to thousands of Barbadians. We pledge to slavishly commit to some core values, which I should mention a few. Service excellence. We are member-focused, and we are committed to exceeding expectations in everything we do. Integrity. We earn your trust by being responsible, honest, and accountable. Financial stability. We can be relied upon for your financial strength and security. Respect. We are a caring organization that respects and values our members, employees, and communities. Our commitment to support and host initiatives such as the Olive Trotman Memorial Lecture, as our commitment to offer meaningful experiences to our community, which can serve to educate, engage dialogue, and new thinking. The 50th Anniversary Independence Committee has allocated a theme for each month leading up to November. For this month, the theme is Celebrate Our Nation, Future Our Children. Even with all the negative press and news feeds on social media, I'm fortunate to have a counterbalance of success stories of the young members of our credit union. Our thrift club and student reps are energetic, vocal, committed, and demonstrate strong leadership potential. I think that this is appropriate considering our speaker tonight, who happened to be the youngest presenter we've had at the age of 32. I'm confident that after her presentation, many of us will feel a sense of reassurance that our island will continue to be in safe hands for another 50 years. With those thoughts, it gives me pleasure in officially welcoming you to this lecture. In parting, I would like to invite you to reflect on the words of the National Pledge, and I encourage you to delve within and renew your personal commitment to make a personal and positive contribution to our island, wherever you may go. I thank you.
Madam Moderator, featured speaker, Mr. Reba Giddings, the President and other elected officers of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Union and subsidiary, Capital Financial Service, management staff members, specially invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. In Holy Scripture, Solomon, the wisest man who ever lives, reminds us in Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he would not depart from it. Our beloved Neriba Sharita Giddings' life is still rooted in this biblical principle, which was initiated by her parents and caregivers. I had the privilege of meeting Neriba for the first time in 1987, when she commenced her academic journey as a pupil of the former St. Martin's Four Roads Primary, now Ronald Reeds Primary School. From a very early age, we perceived her to be a gifted child. She immediately exhibited character traits such as discipline, dedication, determination, and devotion. Neriba was a leader and not a follower. She immediately embraced our affirmation, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. And she assumed the roles of the most active inter-school Christian fellowship and Health Heart Club member. Neriba narrowly missed being the valedictorian of her primary school by half a percentage to her longtime friend, Miss Tanika Drakes, when she graduated in 1994 to embark on her academic journey as a student of the Harkiston College Secondary School. For me, Neriba was never out of sight or out of mind. She kept me informed of every stage of her academic and personal development. From Barbados to Cardiff, Wales, and later Abu Dhabi, I took those journeys with her in the spirit. And I always got the thumbs up when I inquire about Neriba's spiritual and social development. I was constantly assured and reassured that Neriba was grounded in the bedrock of her faith in the one and only wise creator, Jehovah God. Ladies and gentlemen, this lecture presentation this evening is an awesome testimony of what God can do for those who put their trust and faith and confidence in him. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, it will not depart from him. The principal path from Barbados to Abu Dhabi. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our distinguished daughter of the soil, Miss Nariba Sharika Giddens.
Thank you, Reverend Wiggins. So to the President and other elected officials of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union, Limited and Subsidiary Capital Financial Services, management, staff, and members, specially invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good night. And thank you for coming to listen to tonight's lecture. It is an honor for me to stand here before you and to honor the memory of Sister Olive Trotman, a loyal, compassionate, confident, and dependable woman who played a key role in the history of the Cooperative Credit Union. I hope that I too can display such a quality of character in my life and that I can share some of that with you this evening. I once was asked, if my life was a book, what would be its title? Instantly I thought, Divine Providence. You see, my life has been built by an architect and engineer who could only be the Lord God Almighty. There are so many times in my life that I look back and I think, only God. A phrase that has become so commonplace in my life. So let me start by telling you who I am. I am blessed. I am chosen. I am adopted. I am accepted. I am redeemed. And I am forgiven. I am a beloved daughter of the Most High God. I say this first because I have seen many realizations of many biblical truths in my life, some of which you may find referenced tonight. So, the principle of the path. What is it? And how did it get me from here? Yes. A pretty chubby baby, the daughter of Mr. Glenroy Gittins and Miss Shower Gittins, to here, a flood risk management specialist, design manager, and regional service lead for CH2M in the Middle East. First, let me explain to you how the principle of the path first originated. Well, the phrase is not mine by origin to stake claims on. I was actually watching a teaching series online by North Point Ministries, and the pastor shared something that resonated with me. In his particular sermon, he called it the principle of the path. The principle is quite simple, but quite profound. And it states, it is your direction, not your intention, that determines your destination. I'll explain. So, if you joined the ABC Highway by Dyson Griffith Secondary School heading north, not turning off at any junction, if it is your intention to get to the Grantley Adams International Airport, would you get there? If you continue driving in the same direction heading north, you would eventually get to a destination in St. Michael. But unless you turn around and head in the opposite direction, no matter what your intention, you would not get to the airport. The same is true in life. Each decision or choice we make is not a standalone event. In the same way that each choice or decision determines our destination on a physical journey, so too do our decisions and choices in life determine our ultimate destinations. Likewise, in the same way that our directions would differ depending on whether we started from Oistins or Bathsheba to get to the Grantley Adams International Airport, so too in life. Each of our journeys are mapped out from a particular starting point. And as life would have it, we often don't get to choose what that is. Indeed, it can make the road more difficult, less difficult, or even near impossible. As they say, you can't get to there from here. But whatever our starting points, the principle still applies. Because wherever we start from, unless we point ourselves in the right direction, then no matter what our intention, we cannot reach our chosen destination. So this is easily said, but is it easily done? As you would expect, because I'm standing here, I figured out exactly how to match my intention with my direction to arrive at my destination, Abu Dhabi, right? No, wrong. It was never my intention to be living and working in the Middle East. However, the choices I have made, some difficult and some simply a yes or no, have directed me on this path to success in my career and to be standing before you tonight. Now, please allow me to share with you how the principle of the path has taken me from Barbados, my home and birth spot, where the key qualities of life were instilled in me, to Cardiff, my training ground, where I learned to spread my wings and become an adult. And finally, how it took me all the way to Abu Dhabi, where I have matured and become more confident and comfortable in myself. And so, to Abu Dhabi, my current destination, capital of the United Arab Emirates. It is indeed the largest and most wealthy of the 7 emirates which make up the UAE, and of which the most popular is Dubai, found immediately north of Abu Dhabi. The United Arab Emirates, formed in 1971, borders Saudi Arabia to the south and Oman to the east. It is located to the east of Qatar and Bahrain along the Arabian Gulf, and it's across the Gulf from Iran. It is predominantly desert, with a mountainous range that runs along the east coast and extends into Oman. Temperatures range from 12 to 42 degrees centigrade, and rainfall averages less than 120 millimeters per year. Abu Dhabi as an emirate consists of 3 regions. Al Gharbia, or the western region, here. Al Ain, or the Garden City, which is in this region here. And Abu Dhabi Island, a range of islands here, the largest of which is Abu Dhabi Island, on which I live and work. This is the home of the headquarters of CH2M. From there, I dispel my regional responsibilities as a civil engineer, specializing predominantly in all aspects of flood risk management and engineering. I support all of our offices across the Middle East, North Africa, and India, which includes 3 offices in the UAE, based in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Sharjah, project and program offices in Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and recently our growing offices in India, in Delhi and Hyderabad. As a result of my background, which I will discuss a little later, and my interests, I have grown to become a stormwater specialist across the region. And in 2013, I was appointed to be the regional service lead for the water resources and ecosystems management sector of our water business. This sector encompasses the disciplines of coastal planning and engineering, flood risk management, urban water and ecosystems management, agricultural services, integrated water resources management, water sustainability, and resilience. Although I am knowledgeable to some degree in each of these areas, my specialism is flood risk management, the discipline in which I worked predominantly during my time based in the United Kingdom. Together with my teams, we develop infrastructure designs to deliver projects ranging from single, industrial, or commercial buildings, to strategic transport links, tens of kilometers long, to commercial developments and residential developments, ranging from 2 square kilometers to 10 square kilometers, and industrial cities, ranging from 10 square kilometers to 300 square kilometers. So how does the principle apply to me here now in Abu Dhabi? Well, when I first arrived in Abu Dhabi, I had already been successful in my career to this stage. But essentially, I was unknown in the region. I thought that in essence, I would be starting over. So I set forth to prove my worth. I learned as much as I could to transition into this new position in the company. My first couple of projects were small, but I added value. I took the knowledge and the experience I had gained, related it to the new problems, and applied it in practical ways to deliver innovative solutions. Within a few months, I went from master planning drainage infrastructure to coordinating utility infrastructure designs for potable water, firefighting, wastewater, power, telecommunications, and gas on a site of 20 square kilometers, which had been proposed for a special economic zone in Iran. Now, you may notice that the image is somewhat blacked out, but in our region, because of the sensitivities, we have a number of what we call non-disclosure agreements on the projects in which we work. So you will see that many of the images will be images in part or partly covered for this reason. So I learned new skills, combined it with experience I had already gained to create a niche service offering. I learned to be adaptable. I continued to adapt to the needs of the business and took an interest in not only delivering infrastructure designs, but also improving the process by which we obtained authority approvals. So when I stepped into the utility design and coordinator role on the ongoing master plan of a 70 square kilometer industrial city in Al Gharbia, Abu Dhabi, I also took responsibility for our stakeholder management. For me, this was no small feat. Having contacted 54 different stakeholders to request information, followed by coordination with 21 of those to obtain design approvals, I continued to hone my multitasking skills. But most importantly at that time, I learned always to be prepared. You see, for me, this is a slightly embarrassing lesson that could have been much worse. In a small meeting with our client, I made an assumption that certain checks had already been done. And as I had just joined the client team, the project team, the client was gracious. And so the checks were quickly completed, and now I take nothing for granted. Adequate preparation has proven time and time again to be a key differentiator between good and great. And oh, did I mention that as a byproduct of that meeting, I can now carry out a basic design for a gas transmission pipeline. Yes, exactly. Although preparation is key, preparation alone was not sufficient to deliver stormwater infrastructure design on what was initially termed a small project, which in actuality was a dual two-lane strategic trunk road almost 24 kilometers long. Through the challenging mountainous region in the northeast of the Emirates, it included 5 rock tunnels totaling 13 kilometers. Because of the arid environment, there are generally no constant flowing rivers. Instead, often ephemeral watercourses, which are predominantly dry but subject to flash flooding following rainfall. They can be found in the natural depressions in the valleys and will take the water from land to an outfall, such as the sea, a lake, or a floodplain. The road is largely routed through the upper catchments of the wadis, the term used for these ephemeral watercourses. And because they're in upper catchments, they're in the root, the road is in the root of a number of small to medium-sized hill torrents. These streams, despite being small, are subject to high velocities because of the steep gradients along the wadi beds. You see, this created unique challenges, and this project, which was estimated to have a capital cost of $630 million US, and for which approximately 3.2 kilometers of channel and over 30 culverts were designed. On this project, I went from being a hydrologist and a design engineer to becoming a design coordinator and subsequently design package manager, and then on to be a mentor to junior and senior engineers, who are then equipped to deliver this project and develop in their own right. As I mentioned, this is a unique landscape, and so I worked with dam and erosion experts across the company to develop innovative and effective solutions. To do so effectively, I had to be informed. I researched everything I could. I looked at every research study, every case study, every international and national guidance manual, every past project of relevance, so that I thoroughly understood the context of what I was required to do. And throughout, I spoke with the resident engineers, all of the discipline leads, for highways, tunnels, geology, geotechnical engineering, structures, and to understand their requirements, and then not to be misinformed of the constraints, so that I would be in the best position to make decisions and take responsibility for the designs which we would deliver. As a result of more than 3 years working closely together, we now operate as a well-oiled machine. So we worked on this project and many others across the region. I know there are many here, but I'll just point me out. I am this tiny little one here, the only lady amongst a whole team of men. Interestingly, I never actually noticed the majority of the time that I am the only lady. I am quite fortunate that in the water team of which I am a part, we have a number of women engineers. But often, because our teams are multidisciplinary, then yes, we will often be the only lady standing amongst a number of men. So working this closely has created a diverse team, both regionally and internationally, and also taught me another valuable skill that has allowed me to be even more sought after in my field, and that is communication. The Middle East is a fast-paced environment with teams located remotely, and often expertise is based in other regions internationally. To deliver our projects, my project team will often comprise of members from across the globe, and more often than not, across at least two different time zones. For effective delivery, I need to be both thorough and responsive. As I mentioned while explaining the principle, experiences, though unique, are never standalone events to be put on a shelf once complete. You see, both hard engineering knowledge and the softer engineering skills that I developed on these projects and others ongoing at the time put me in a strong standing for future opportunities. As you know, the water cycle is all connected. So too are my experiences. You see, when rain falls in the mountains, as it has here on one of our sites, it can often also affect the cities. And so I continue to build on my experiences to provide urban stormwater solutions and assess its marine implications, and to fulfill the role of the regional service lead, in which these qualities not only helped me to demonstrate my suitability for the role, but also helped me to continue to dispel my duties. So now you have a taste of what I do in Abu Dhabi. You may probably be still wondering, but how did I actually get there? Okay, let's take a step back. First, to my journey from Barbados at the tender age of 18 to the United Kingdom, and my first time being on my own. And so, to Cardiff. It is actually the capital of Wales. It seems I have a penchant for unknown capital cities. So, Wales is one of the 3 government entities that make up Great Britain. England, Scotland, and Wales, together with Northern Ireland, form the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Interestingly, Wales and the Caribbean actually have a long history. Barbados and Wales share many Welsh place names, and it is actually possible that the Gittins name has its roots in a Welsh clan. But I digress. At the age of 18, I, like many other Barbadian teenagers, left home to study. I, unlike many other Barbadian teenagers, chose a place I had never heard of and where I knew no one. Simply because I knew what I wanted to study and fell in love with a university that offered the double major of civil and environmental engineering and sent me a welcome video. It was a small but meaningful gesture that made all the difference and put me at ease about going to this unknown but exciting university, which ranked number 7 across the UK, and whose engineering school was ranked number 1. Now, this gave me great delight because I had a cousin who attended the University College London, which was ranked number 2 in engineering. It was actually a higher ranked university overall, but it was still number 2. And so I chose Cardiff University, and I went entirely on faith. I hope my parents don't mind me sharing this. You see, although I received the Barbados exhibition, we did not have enough money to get me through 4 years of university. Even with the scholarships I had received from Rotherley Construction Incorporated and from Cardiff University, I'm not fully certain whether or not we actually had enough to get me through 1 year. Herein was my first conscious awareness of the principle, and that was that hard work pays off in ways I could not expect. To explain, let me take a step back to Barbados once again. For the advanced level exams, one of the subjects I took was technical drawing. The year of our exam, our group was asked to pilot the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examinations in technical drawing also. At the time, I had not fully appreciated that practice makes perfect. So I, along with my classmates, sat 2 exams in technical drawing, the Cambridge A-levels and CAPE. Many months after we had sat the exams, after I had set out to the university and had those difficult conversations with the finance department, I was informed that I had actually placed 4th in the world. That result cemented my direction and made it possible to complete 4 years of university education and to graduate, thank you. Yes, and to graduate with a master's in engineering with honors. I had trusted God, and he had not failed me. So, with my direction focused on completing my university degree, then my 4 years should have been easy, right? Wrong again. I had my share of struggles. And at the end of my 3rd year, I had intended to quit. In my 2nd year at university, I had gotten ill. And although it was a minor illness, it plagued me for more than a decade. Because of it, I had missed small chunks of university from my 2nd year onwards. Suddenly, things were not as easy. Juggling school and part-time work was a challenge. Or rather, juggling school, part-time work, having an active commitment to a church body was a challenge, add exercise and volunteering, and an illness on top of it, and it was easy to see how I could easily reach breaking point. However, I learned that these years were my most formative years as an adult. These were the years in which I built strength of character, which shaped who I became. So with some gentle persuasion from my parents and my personal tutor, Professor Keith Williams, I completed my 4th and final year at Cardiff University, graduating with an upper second-class honors master's degree in civil and environmental engineering. And so, thank you. And so I learned the principle of perseverance. That pointed me in the direction that led to my first and technically my only professional job. Some people have asked why I didn't return to Barbados after university. Well, at the start of university, it was my intention to return to Barbados immediately on completion. However, as I mentioned earlier in explaining the principle, we don't often get to choose our starting points, and it was important for me to begin work straight out of university. So I took a path which, by God's grace, would lead to financial stability. With a little over a weekend of a grace period, I ended my part-time job as a sales assistant at Debenhams department store and began my full-time position as a graduate engineer at Halcro Group Limited, a British engineering consultancy with a history dating back to the 1860s. Prior to becoming Halcro Group Limited, the company first worked in Wales back in 1894 and had a presence in Dubai and Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates from 1960, prior to the Union Agreement. You may then ask, how did I go from almost quitting university to joining an international engineering consultancy on graduating? Well, in addition to hard work, perseverance, lots of preparation, it was also character. In the book of James, in chapter 1, it states, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And again, in Romans chapter 5, it also states, "But we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." Because I had persevered to reach my destination of graduating from university, through difficult times in the course of it all, I had built character. I ensured I was well-rounded, and during my time at university, I was chosen to be a student representative on the staff student panel. I was chosen to be a student warden at one of the largest halls of residence, following in the footsteps of other Barbadians who had attended Cardiff University before me. I worked in research on one of the first ecological footprint studies of an event, the FA World Cup held at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. I worked over summer at Rotherley Construction Incorporated. I was a student volunteer with disabled children. I competed when I could in Latin and ballroom dance with our university's dance sport team. I was an usher, a worship leader, and a Sunday school teacher. Each and every activity I took part in or supported molded in me characteristics which I continue to call on today, to be the person God created me to be. And so, with my intention and my direction pointing in opposite directions, I started my career as a fresh-faced graduate in river engineering. I will be honest, my first thought was, Barbados has no rivers. So what am I doing here? So my new intention was to transfer from river engineering to coastal engineering at the first opportunity. That opportunity, however, proved to be more difficult than I had anticipated. And so I learned another biblical principle, and that is patience. The patience I refer to, however, is not passive. Another scripture in Hebrews chapter 6, the writer states, "We do not want you to become lazy, but to imitate those whose faith and patience inherit what has been promised." So while I waited, I grasped practically every opportunity that passed my way. I learned to use every type of software on the job, so much so that by the time I attended formal training, I was training others on the course. Because of this, not only was I given more and more responsibility, but I was able to choose the projects I worked on. So I first worked as a junior engineer, undertaking the hydraulic modeling of the River Ebu, which flowed alongside and beneath the site of an old ironworks factory. This was being demolished, and for which we were designing an extension to Ebbowville town, which is located here. This extension included a hospital, primary school, college, recreational areas, housing, and commercial buildings. The site is located in the valley, and so it is subject to flood risk from the surrounding hills, as well as the river, which would spill onto the site when its flow exceeded the capacity of the culvert beneath the site. I eventually took responsibility for the design of the flood routes through the site and the design of sustainable attenuation, reusing at least one of our massive underground basements for storage, and the controlled release of floodwaters to support the amenity of the Central Valley, which provided a recreational area, and also the emergency flood route for floods with a probability exceeding 1 in 100 years. While this project was nearing completion, the opportunity to work on another exciting project arose. This was the length of a strategic trunk road which ran from the north of Wales to the south of Wales, and it was located in one of the most environmentally sensitive areas in the country. This area received both national and European environmental designations, and was therefore also subject to a host of national and European legislation. So although in theory it was only a road, the location created many challenges, a number of which were actually related to the water environment, for the area had received many of its environmental designations based on this. Indeed, the coastal waters are of such high qualities that Caribbean sea turtles are reported to have been spotted there. In addition to the environmental concerns, the road was also located across a major floodplain of a significant river, with a 1 in 100 year probability flow of approximately 100 cubic meters per second. For over 2 years, I worked on this project, maturing in both my experience and my responsibility, until all of the water environment and drainage design fell under my responsibility. It is indeed a project of which I am very proud, since on completion of the project, it has won a number of awards, including those for its environmental achievements. As I had mentioned, thank you. As I had mentioned, the many principles I had developed in my life continued to mold me into a person who took initiative and was professional in all situations. And so, from 2008, I was asked to manage the responsibility of the sponsorship of my company's relationship with my alma mater, Cardiff University, the School of Engineering, and to work closely with my hydraulics professor, who had been my reference, Professor Roger Faulkner. In this role, I learned so much about research and development, marketing, business development, and politics, and gained my first professional mentors in the project director of the sponsorship agreement and in the regional managing director for Wales. These two gentlemen championed and supported me through my professional development, encouraged me to continue taking brave steps forward on this path. They and my spiritual professional mentor, then Associate Director Sally Sudworth, supported me and encouraged me in all of my corporate social responsibility activities, which were so important to me. Activities in the schools as a construction ambassador, with the Engineering Team Challenge, supporting University Charity Engineers Without Borders as a member of their professional network, and promoting the engineering profession through videos for I Could and Jive. Even learning the Welsh language, which I was able to put into practice when I co-delivered the welcome at Halcro's 40th anniversary of its continuous presence in Wales. Now, I need to caveat that, because I've not been in Wales for 5 years, so I won't say I'm fluent anymore. But in ways I could not imagine and still cannot fully explain, these many experiences led me to be successful in winning the national award, the New Civil Engineer and Association of Consultancy and Engineering Young Consultant of the Year, 2010. Thank you. For it is indeed my nature, as much as it was my successes, that led the judges to grant me this prestigious award, for which they wrote, "She has an infectious energy for the profession that may well inspire an entire generation of engineers, both in the UK and around the world." This award cemented for me a new direction, which again differed from my original intentions. That direction led me to Abu Dhabi, not simply because it was an open door waiting to be walked into, but because I realized that the award presented opportunities that I could fight for. I wanted experience, so I requested experience. That experience so happened to be in Abu Dhabi. In the same way, completing my university degree benefited from some gentle persuasion. So too did my transition to Abu Dhabi. But I would not have been driven to take the initiative and grasp the opportunities before me had it not been for the foundation I was given right here in Barbados. You see, I was fortunate enough to have parents who valued a sound education. My mother sat with me many days and nights to ensure my homework was always completed on time. She demonstrated to me the values of discipline, justice, and mercy, ensuring that I was taught honesty, respect for self, and respect for others. The only reasons for which she ever flogged me. My father instilled in me a love for reading. In fact, I don't think there was ever a birthday or Christmas as a child that I did not receive a book. Ironically, that love for reading grew so strong that one of the last bits of advice my father gave me on leaving me to start university was, "Don't read so much, you need to study." Both my parents played very different but very integral roles in my life to make me the woman I am today. Thank you for all the sacrifices you have made so that I can succeed. But not only my parents, I was surrounded by a loving family, many aunts and uncles, sisters and cousins, who taught me to have fun, to be real, to be grounded, and to have a personal relationship with Christ. And for the latter, I have to say a special thank you to my aunt and uncle, Joan and Austin Gittins. with their pearls of wisdom, they set me up to interact with the world. First, at my primary school, then St. Martin's Four Primary, now the Reynold Weeks Primary School, where I received excellent academic, moral, and Christian training, where I learned in a positive way to speak up and not be overlooked, where I had my first truly valued relationships outside of my family, not only the friendships in the classroom. After all, my longest friendship started on the first day of school with Miss Tanika Drakes, but also with my elders, both inside and outside of the classroom. Reverend Wiggins, Mrs. Knights, and the late Mrs. Scantlebury in particular, who showed me concern and compassion and taught me how to treat everyone equally and how to make wise decisions. They gave me the academic foundation that led to my success at the Common Entrance exam, narrowly missing out on the top marks to none other than my longest friend, with whom I also went to secondary school. But the academic training I received there is like no other. So on to Harrison College. There, it prepared me for university and life in ways I could not expect. I will always attest to the effectiveness of the teaching style of the late Mr. Prasad, a man who made learning memorable and commanded respect inside and outside of the classroom. His teaching of further mathematics truly ensured I passed my first and second year engineering analysis examinations at university. At Harrison College, though, I faced some of my toughest experiences growing up, but I also built some of my closest friendships. These have stood the test of distance and time. These now men and women have chosen their paths that have led to success in their own right. But more importantly for me, these men and women are those who stand by me and with whom I will always stand, so that our directions can be those largely of our own choosing, and mostly to our benefit and the benefit of those around us. I have shared with you tonight snippets of my journey, which have been so well written by Barbados Faces on the Faces of Barbados website, where Shelley Ross has brought together stories of women at all various stages of their career to create role models for young women in our society who so desperately need them. But you see, my story is not unique. I see the principle of the path at work in the lives of so many others around me. Practically everyone I work with in the UAE has been there longer than they intended, from 8 months to 12 years, 2 months to 10 years, or 1 year every year 27 times. Yeah, it happens. Each of us, though, are where we are as a result of our choices. What country we choose to live in, what company we choose to work for, what profession we choose to pursue, what degree we choose to study, what university we choose to attend, what subjects we choose in school, even what extracurricular activities we partake in, or what friends we make. But it is not only these choices, it is also our everyday decisions. Each time we pass on or take up an opportunity, each time we procrastinate or sacrifice to achieve our goals, each time we persevere when the voice inside screams that we can't do it, or that we don't belong here, or that we are not enough. These two can decide our direction and chart the path of our lives. For me, every day is a new opportunity to make a difference in the path I take. But I know the path ahead is not without its challenges or its obstacles. I have equally missed opportunities which now impact on the path that I must take, and I have changed at times only to be faced with closed doors. So I'm under no illusion that my intentions, even though I now understand the principle of the path, will indeed become my reality. But I do not worry, far from it, because I have learned the greatest truth that underwrites the entire principle. For me, it was an understanding from childhood that clung to me before I consciously clung to it, an understanding that has been and will be an integral part of my life. Through successes and disappointments, that truth tells me to trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not on my own understanding. In all my ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct my paths. Thank you.
Ms. Nariba Gittins, on behalf of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, it is my distinct pleasure to offer this to you as a gift of our appreciation.
Thank you.
We're now at the close of this evening's proceedings. I've done this lecture, got to be about 4 years now, and the speakers are always, always excellent. But tonight, congratulations to the person who found Nariba. They really stepped their game up. To offer the vote of thanks, I invite Sister Clarinda Aline, the Group CEO of the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Wow. Wow, many thanks for being a wonderful audience to Nariba. And thank you very much, Nariba. Very excellent. And the principle of the path and perseverance led us to you. This year was very challenging in terms of pinning down a speaker. We had actually tried to pin down two persons before we finally decided on you, Nariba. And I will say one of the things that kind of made me decide that we would choose Nariba, besides her being very young and the significant achievements at that age, was the fact that she was a committed Christian. It made a difference. Because, as Sister Malvina said, typically it does not appear as though people can connect being a committed Christian with being a person of achievement or being an academic. So that was a very significant factor in your selection, and you have not, or put it positively, you have delivered and executed well. My involvement in this lecture is a bit more hands-on than any other initiative hosted by the credit union. I feel very invested. And often there's always moments of anxiety where, but for divine intervention, we would give up. And there were many this year, as I indicated, but things always come together very nicely, making for, as it did this evening, a very splendid experience. I say what an awesome journey for this young lass from St. Martin, St. Philip, to Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. It's awesome, I repeat again, that she remains committed to her Christian faith, Yes, committed Christians can be high achievers as well. The Naribas of this world represent, for me at least, hope, possibilities, opportunities, and much can be realized through commitment and focus when we claim those achievements as our own, even before they are realized in tangible form. I am an unrepentant optimist. No, I'm never determined by no. It makes me try harder, and I keep asking. Perseverance again, Nariba. Nariba's message tonight, through her experiences, for me, cross generational boundaries, speaking to us all of hope, hope for ourselves, hope for the youth, and hope for our nation. More specifically, though, to our youth, it speaks of the tremendous possibilities once you're prepared to stay at the grindstone, remain committed, and work consistently hard, remaining consistently focused, and that's part of the preparation for your journey, so that when the prospect arrives, you are ready. And it speaks of opportunities for corporate entities like the credit union to fill the breach created in the lives of youngsters who, by force of circumstances of birth, are robbed of the right to dream even before they know themselves, to put it colloquially. The right to dream or even to think of achievement, our hopes, our possibilities, never mind success in the way that we take it for granted. But from the inception of this credit union, as I have come to understand, there have always been programs implemented to fill this breach, to give back, to serve the underserved, and to bring hope to those with no hope or likelihood of success, and also to mitigate the hopelessness. Young people need not only to be told of success, but we must show them what it looks like or what it can look like. So I think it was timely that in 14 years since the commencement of this lecture series, the presenter was a very young and successful individual. For you repeat attendees, you can attest that Nariba is indeed the youngest of them all presenting at this lecture series. Her presence also reminds us that there are countless young people across Barbados and indeed in the diaspora who continue to achieve with excellence and distinction and serve as an inspiration to others, and who in time hopefully will grace this stage as a presenter just as Nariba has. So Nariba, how can I thank you for keeping the flames of this lecture series burning? I can't thank you enough. I thank you for responding positively to our invitation and trekking all the way from the Middle Eastern deserts where you now live and work to be our presenter. Thank God that you quickly overcame your initial nerves and whatever feelings of inadequacy associated with the list of previous presenters. And I thank your bosses also for facilitating leave so that you could make this journey. A journey which, in chatting earlier, I realized it's about close to 20 hours travel time. You executed with distinction tonight. We thank God for your safe journey here, and we seek his protection for you as you journey back to your adopted home. You are simply awesome and inspirational, perhaps particularly so to the young ones, even as they embark on their own life's journey. I thank you too for the time you took on Wednesday evening to meet with our young Thrift Club members. I am reliably informed that it was a very beneficial and rewarding experience for them, and I thank you very much. Very special thanks to all of those who, whether up front or behind the scenes, put their hearts and soul into making this lecture a success on an annual basis. This year, we kicked off our celebrations with a church service at the Western Light Nazarene Church, and consistent with our tradition of having the priest of the hosting church deliver our invocation, Reverend Dr. Schofield Eversley performed that role tonight. Thanks very much for reorganizing your personal schedule to be here to invite God's blessings on our proceedings. Brother Glendon, many thanks for your reflections on another anniversary year and your continued commitment and responsibility to this, our credit union, and by extension, the nation. Thanks to Reverend Lennox Wiggins for introducing the speaker and providing an interesting perspective on her character and personality. How exciting that our speaker this year is so young, I can't help but repeat that. So knowledgeable, so bright, so talented. You're a credit to our nation, and it is my hope, my earnest hope, that someday you will find your way back here to assist us in the areas in which your expertise will allow, and I hope that it's the right opportunity at the right time for you. Brother Shane Earl, many thanks for graciously making the presentation to our speaker. Shane is a past Thrift Club president. He is a shining example of how the credit union's various initiatives supports our youth in their development, making them very confident in what they do. Thanks, Shane. I'm very proud of you. To the team at the El Jodi Art Gallery and J Decor, El Jodi, we thank you for the crafting of the piece presented, and J Decor for your alluring and delightful packaging of the creation. Thank you both for the gift of your respective talents. Thanks to the team behind the scenes, the SEB events or event planners, Renaissance Designs, IGM Stage Lighting, Creative Vibes, Mr. Tempro, the photographer, and others too many to mention. We thank you for lending your expertise to our function. We also acknowledge and thank the team here at Lloyd Erskine Sandifer Center for hosting us and providing the refreshments which you will enjoy very soon at the cocktail reception. And last but by no means least, I thank and acknowledge Jewel Ford, our resident moderator, if you will. Thank you for your talented support and professionalism while carrying out your role so effectively and admirably year after year. Again, I thank the audience. There are a lot of places you could have chosen to be tonight, and we couldn't be happier that you have chosen to continue to support us. We do not take your presence for granted, neither your show of interest. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely extend my thanks to you, and I wish you a safe journeys back home to your respective homes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sister Clorinda. She said something very important. She said that our young people need to see what success looks like. It's not enough to tell them that if they go to school and learn well and they get X amount to O levels and X amount to A levels, there's a certain type of job that awaits them. They need to see that. And Ariba Gittins is the embodiment of that vision. With all of the bad news and terror and all the other things that go on in our world, perhaps now is the time that we need to have some kind of media program where we salute the high achievers among us, those who've excelled and who by their living have done right by their country. Hint, hint, Sister Clorinda. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being a part of this special evening celebration. It's a shared celebration honoring the credit union's 46th anniversary and the country's lead up to the Golden Jubilee. I'll take this opportunity to invite you to support the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union at their Member Appreciation Day. That's at Belmont Road. It's this coming Friday. And invite you to the free concert in Independence Square on Wednesday, May 25th. And that's part of Gospel Fest, and that's also sponsored by the credit union. The evening is yet young, and we invite you to join us for the post-lecture cocktail reception featuring the band NJ30. They're a great young band, playing mostly jazz, very, very talented. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a sincere pleasure being your moderator for this evening. If you can't stay with us and you need to leave, please travel safely and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you and good evening.